You are standing in your kitchen, plate in hand, completely focused on your meal, and your dog is sitting 3 feet away, completely focused on you, not on the food, not on the counter, on your face, just watching, waiting, staring with that deep, unblinking intensity that somehow manages to feel both incredibly loving and slightly unnerving at the same time. And your immediate instinct, the thought that jumps into your head without any hesitation, is that your dog wants some of what you're having, that the stare is about hunger, that behind those wide, soulful eyes is nothing more complicated than a desire for a bite of whatever smells good. It seems obvious, it seems logical, it seems like the most rational explanation in the world, and it is almost certainly wrong. What I want to do today is take that assumption apart, slowly, because the real reason your dog stares at you while you eat has been studied, documented, and confirmed by animal behaviorists and cognitive scientists. And once you understand what that gaze actually means, you will never look at your dog the same way again. Not because it is alarming, but because it is one of the most profound things an animal can silently communicate to another living being. And your dog has been doing it your entire life together, hoping you would eventually understand. Let's start with the assumption itself, because it deserves a fair hearing before we dismantle it. The idea that your dog stares at you during meals because they want food is not entirely without basis. Dogs are opportunistic. They evolved alongside humans partly because they learned to capitalize on human food waste, human generosity, and human weakness for a pleading face. There is genuine research showing that dogs have developed a specific muscle above their inner brow, the levator anguli oculi medialis, that wolves do not have, and that this muscle exists primarily to make the dog's face appear more expressive and more pitiful to human eyes. Dogs literally evolved a facial muscle whose entire function is to make you feel guilty for not sharing your dinner. So yes, food motivation is real. Yes, dogs know that staring at you while you eat sometimes results in a piece of chicken landing on the floor. That learning is real, and it does happen. But here is the problem with stopping the analysis there. If staring during mealtimes were purely about food acquisition, you would expect the behavior to stop or reduce significantly in dogs who have never once been fed from the table. You would expect dogs who get consistent, adequate meals to stare less than dogs who are underfed or insecure. You would expect the stare to be directed at the food itself, at the plate, at your fork, at the counter, rather than locked onto your face. And you would expect the behavior to disappear entirely once your meal is finished and there is nothing left to want. But none of those things are consistently true. The stare persists in well-fed dogs. It persists in dogs who have zero history of being rewarded with table scraps. And most tellingly, it is almost always directed at your face rather than your food. That last detail is the one that cracked this open for researchers. Because a dog trying to get food watches the food. A dog communicating something watches your eyes. So what are they communicating? To answer that properly, we need to go back about 15,000 years, maybe more. The domestication of dogs from wolves is one of the longest and most complex co-evolutionary relationships in the history of life on this planet. Humans and dogs have been living alongside each other, depending on each other, shaping each other's behavior for so long that the line between instinct and learned behavior has become almost impossible to draw. And one of the things that emerged from that long shared history, one of the behavioral fingerprints of deep domestication, is a shift in how dogs use eye contact. Wild wolves, even wolves that are socialized to humans, avoid sustained direct eye contact within their own pack hierarchy. In wolf social structure, holding eye contact is a challenge. It is an assertion of dominance or a provocation. Wolves that are lower in a pack structure will break eye contact and look away as a gesture of deference. Prolonged mutual gazing between wolves is almost always a precursor to conflict. This is important. This is baseline wolf behavior. And dogs, which descended from wolves and share the vast majority of their DNA, have almost completely reversed this dynamic when interacting with humans. Domesticated dogs not only tolerate sustained eye contact from their human companions, they seek it out, they initiate it, they appear to find it comforting rather than threatening. That reversal did not happen by accident. It is one of the most significant behavioral shifts that occurred during domestication, and it happened because eye contact between a dog and their trusted human triggers the release of oxytocin in both the human and the dog simultaneously. Oxytocin is the same neurochemical that facilitates bonding between human mothers and their newborns. It is sometimes called the love hormone. Though that is an oversimplification, it is more accurately described as the trust hormone, or the safety hormone. It is what the brain releases when it registers the presence of something it has decided is safe, familiar, and important to protect. When your dog looks into your eyes and you look back, both of your brains release oxytocin, the same chemical, the same neurological signal, firing simultaneously in two different species. This was documented in a landmark 2015 study by Miho Nagasawa and colleagues at Azabu University in Japan, published in the journal Science, and it genuinely shocked the research community because nothing like it had ever been observed between humans and non-domesticated animals. The gas-induced oxytocin loop was thought to be exclusive to mammalian parent-infant bonding. Dogs broke that assumption entirely. Now bring that back to your kitchen. Your dog is sitting there watching you eat. You are at your most relaxed, your most domestic, your most open. You are not in work mode. You are not distracted by your phone. You are doing one of the most fundamentally human things there is, consuming a meal, and your dog, in that moment, is not calculating the probability of receiving food. Your dog is doing something that is, in behavioral terms, far more significant. Your dog is gazing at a trusted figure during a moment of vulnerability and using that gaze to reinforce the bond that makes them feel safe in the world. Here is a piece of context that makes this even more layered. In the wild, eating is one of the most dangerous things an animal does. When an animal is eating, their head is down, their senses are partially occupied, and they are temporarily less able to scan their environment for threats. Predators know this. Rival pack members know this. The moment of feeding is a window of exposure. In wolf packs, lower-ranking members do not eat in the presence of higher-ranking ones unless they have been explicitly permitted to do so, and even then, they remain alert, ready to yield at the first sign of tension. Eating in peace, eating without fear of interruption, is a social privilege in canid culture. It signals that you are in a safe environment, surrounded by individuals you trust completely. Your dog has inherited that instinct. And what your dog is doing when they sit quietly and watch you eat is participating in the social ritual of shared feeding in the only way that makes sense within your household dynamic. They are not trying to steal from you. They are sitting in calm, watchful proximity to a trusted figure during a moment that their evolutionary heritage codes as high risk, and they are regulating their own nervous system by keeping their eyes on the one thing in their environment that signals safety: you, your face, your expressions, the way your body is relaxed and unhurried. All of that tells your dog that there is no threat, that this moment is safe. And the staring is how they confirm it, over and over, in real time. There is a concept in attachment theory called a secure base, developed by British psychologist John Bowlby in his work on human parent-child bonding. A secure base is a trusted person whose presence allows an individual to feel safe enough to relax, explore, and function without the constant weight of anxiety. Bowlby's work was about infants, but the concept has been applied extensively to dogs through the research of scientists like John Bradshaw and Alexandra Horowitz. Dogs, like human children, form genuine attachment bonds with their primary caregivers, and one of the defining behaviors of a securely attached dog is something researchers call social referencing, the habit of repeatedly checking in with the trusted human during any emotionally significant situation. New environment. The dog looks at you. Loud noise. The dog looks at you, unsure about a stranger. The dog looks at you. The look is a question. Is this okay? Is this safe? Should I be worried? Mealtime gazing is a form of social referencing. The question your dog is asking, stripped of language, is something like, "We are in this together. Yes, you are here. Yes, everything is fine." And the act of you glancing back, of meeting their eyes even briefly, answers that question. It says, "Yes, I am here. We are fine." And the oxytocin loop fires, the cortisol dips, and your dog settles more deeply into the calm of a creature who knows they are safe with you. I want to address one more piece of this, because it is the detail that tends to hit people the hardest when they really sit with it. There is a specific subset of mealtime staring behavior, where the dog does not just watch passively, but actually turns their back or positions themselves between you and the room, essentially standing guard while you eat. This is most common in dogs who have a strong protective instinct, but it has been observed across breeds and sizes. And what this behavior represents is something extraordinary. The dog is not just reassuring themselves. They are taking responsibility for your safety while you are occupied. They are doing for you what the lower-ranking wolf does not do. They are choosing to remain alert so that you do not have to be. They are, in the truest behavioral sense, watching your back. 15,000 years of coevolution produced a creature capable of that. An animal who learned, over generations beyond counting, that the human's vulnerability is their responsibility, that the moment when their person is distracted and relaxed and open is exactly the moment when that person needs them most, and they show up for it every single time, without being asked, without any expectation of reward, without fully understanding what it means in the abstract, only knowing, somewhere in the deepest architecture of their nervous system, that this is what they do. This is who they are in relation to you. So the next time your dog is sitting across from you while you eat, and you feel that familiar pull to either give them something to make them stop staring, or wave them away, because it feels a little intense pause, look back at them. Really look. Not the way you look at something you are trying to manage, but the way you look at something you are trying to understand. Because what you are seeing is not a dog angling for a handout. What you are seeing is an animal who has chosen you as their anchor in the world, who monitors your face the way a sailor monitors the horizon, who finds in your ordinary human presence a degree of safety and meaning that most of us spend our whole lives searching for in each other, and rarely find as purely as your dog finds it in you. They are not watching your food. They have never been watching your food. They have been watching you. They will always be watching you. And if you are very still, and you let yourself feel what that actually is, rather than immediately explaining it away, it will rearrange something quietly inside you. Because the hunger in that gaze is real. But it has nothing to do with what is on your plate. It is a hunger for closeness, for reassurance, for the particular and irreplaceable comfort of being near the one living thing in the world that makes the entire nervous system say, finally, I am home, I am safe, everything is going to be okay. That is what your dog is telling you. Every single meal, every single day, without a single word.